Alright, one more time here at Metal Gear Armory, we're going to take a look at this buttstock we designed. This was brought to us by another gunsmith. The main components were this rod, this cheek piece is off of this AR30, the original buttstock that came with this from factory. And this aluminum block here was brought to us. So assembled pretty much as is. The original gunsmith wanted the adjustments to be these two bolts, and then you would have to also take off your butt pad to these little holes to access this bolt back here in order to slide this up and down. The customer was unhappy with this result. It wasn't what he asked him for. He also did not turn it black, either partnerizing, cerakoting, duracoating, whatever. He didn't do that, so it was just aluminum form, and you'll see that in the quick video following this functions test. You'll see the original components and then what I cut my pieces out of next to those, and then the more detailed work of what I've done to modify each of these pieces in order to get this final result. So now what I'm going to do is just do a quick functions test to show you the three adjustments that I've installed of my own design and thought. And I'll include one more close-up video of this with better quality. I'll use my phone, and we'll get in a little closer here in the final form and show you exactly how everything fit together and what I was working with. So, I'm going to shoulder your rifle here. Try to get your eye relief. I'm clearly way too far back, okay? So, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down, and there is a thumb release under here. Pull it back. Feels about, I might go a little lower. Pull it back. That feels pretty good right there. Okay, now I need to come in further. To come in further, I push this button here. And I have an adjustment for 1, an adjustment for 2, and one more, 3. That's feeling a lot better. There is one more I could go in, but that's a pretty good adjustment there. Now, the height is wrong. I think that feels pretty good right there. That would be adjusted for me. I think that would be much easier in the field to set up than bringing a wrench and loosen 2 bolts. And then there was no height adjustment at all. This was bolted to this rod. There was no height adjustment for your cheek. And as I said, in order to move these, you 1 needed an Allen wrench, and 2 needed a wrench to remove this, and then another Allen wrench to loosen the bolt to slide this up and down. So we've gotten rid of that. One more complaint was, since this was bolted to this, the only way to get the bolt out of the gun during a field strip was to dismount here was the quickest way. So let me spin this back up. It's my fault. Here's a 1/4x20 thread. You'll see that in the other video. Oh, it come off. Okay. Yeah, you'll have to. But now you can just simply spin that off there and remove your bolt for field cleaning. Slide it back on, send it home. We'll jam this back in here real quick. Pretty simple, really. Got that little alignment rod right there to keep it from wiggling one way or the other on you. actually might take it in. Oh yeah, I can get chopped up on it now. Oh yeah. I think that'll work just fine. So, if you're unhappy with how people's work, or you have something you want done to your firearm that doesn't exist in this world yet, try Metal Gear Armory. We specialize in this kind of stuff. This was a more difficult one. I wish he would have brought it to me to begin with. I could have done something totally different, charging him a whole lot less money, and could have got him the same result versus what he paid the other guy, and now what he's going to pay me in order to make what the other guy did do this. And like I said, I'm going to show you a video to show you how close. The guy didn't leave me a whole lot to work with. He pretty much set it up to work the way he built it. And for me to make the modifications that I made, I won't lie, it took me a couple days to think about it, figure out how I was going to fit all these parts into these very close tolerances in here. And, you know, get a 1/4 inch button play, get a 1/4 inch pull here, you know, stuff big enough for your hands with gloves to fit and work on this firearm out in the field and adjust this stock without tools and a bunch of jazz going on. Okay, you don't want that out in the field. So, concluding, I will now relay over to that other video, and you'll see the raw components of this and what I done to them. Well, I may allude to another one real fast. I'll pull out my phone and shoot the close-up work, and then at the very end, you'll see the raw form before I cerakoted everything, and you'll get to see the cerakote finish too up close. We chose Cerakote on this. I thought it would last longer than parkerizing. I've had good results out of it, especially for these components being what they are. I could only install nylon into so many places is a buffer from metal to metal, because that's how the other gunsmith had it set up, was metal to metal contact. So any kind of finish wouldn't even allow the parts to go back together as they were. So even if he would have parkerized it, he would have had to modify the parts, and then they would have scuffed severely, very severely on the edges as these would have slid in and out as you would have manipulated the pieces. So now with that Cerakote, we don't have that problem. It's going to wear excellently. It acts almost like a lubricant, it feels like, on some of the parts. I was concerned, but it worked out great. And so now I think this customer is going to be very happy with his result now. Okay, real quick, just wanted to do the close-up for this butt stock for you. Give you a layout of the rifle, a little bit of the tolerances. You can see the finish is the Cerakote as well. Thin that is, and everything I had to stick behind this plug right here. There's a big long spring and a nylon rod and this plug, all within that little bit of metal and plastic that functions and holds this, and it holds it pretty strong too. You can see the thumb wheel adjustment. You can see the original holes where the first tech had bolted this to the stock. There's that back adjustment that I had made. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. I can't even. There we go. It's hard to do one-handed, really. We did that. Slid right down. I can do that one one-handed. Yep.
did suggest that he get a black butt pad, but with the money and everything, he opted not to. So, alright, thanks for watching. Wanted to show you the other side too. Just popped in my head there. Just get the other side of it, just so you know I'm not pulling no funny stuff. It's the same rifle. That's the other end of that button I was telling you about. Now the original guy, like I said, you had to loosen these two, which would allow this to spin in complete circles. And then you had to take your buttstock off to get to the bolt in here to loosen it, to let it slide up and down. And then again, as I said, you had to, looks like I have to take either this off or these two off, but I'd much rather just spin this on and off to get my bolt out versus taking these two screws out each and every time and removing the whole buttstock and then letting this set down. So this way you still have your buttstock adjustments and everything. So. Alright. Okay, this is the 338 stock components. Remember, the base model was brought to me for modification. We have drill tapped this hole and made this pin out of a bolt. There's the pinhole for a guide. Modified the main rod that comes off of the rifle with a slot, 2 detents, and another guide rod hole. Here is an old Ford axle that we made this adjustment thumb wheel out of. 2 screws for the detents, upper bottom nylon washer. Again, here's the guide rod made from a bolt, both to save time. This piece has been modified heavily. It's been opened up on the bottom to accept this bushing. This nylon bushing was made from this piece of nylon stock. We've had to make several holes in here to fit everything inside and get it completely functional. And this is the bushing that would get pressed in this hole. So it's the same diameter of this rod. This rod was heavily modified. As you can see, a pretty good channel was cut into it, as well as the back end. Here's another piece of that nylon rod, that same nylon rod. Here's the back end of a bolt that we had to make and hollow out for this spring. That will work as a plunger for this. And then here's the lock piece that gets inserted. And these 2 screws will fit in here. This piece was modified with this lateral channel here, so it's a channel within a channel within a channel, and this piece here is what will engage that channel in the back of this piece. We installed a lock screw for the bolt so that we can set the pressure on this and it won't back out. Again, this is the raw component, just a solid piece of bar steel that I cut this piece out of. We added this piece out of a piece of flat tool steel to give it lateral stability. Again, it was just pivoted on the head of this bolt on this back side, and that would have dug in eventually. So we gave it that big platform here to set on, ride with. So there are the materials. Next step is to sandblast and cerakote. We'll put it back together and make sure she functions, and